All right, I'm working in the greenhouse today, early December. I was cleaning up my downstairs. Had all these buckets of Egyptian walking onions. This is a perennial onion. It's a very important crop, I believe, that you should have this if you're in a temperate region. Even on the extremes of the temperate region, you should have these things. They are one of these foods that will change the world. They're just awesome. Egyptian walking onions, look them up. And they're also a good cash crop. There is a way higher demand than supply. So if you can even just get a handful of these, you can start them and keep replanting them, and you'll have a nice big crop, and you'll be able to sell them. They fetch a nice price. So you could probably sell them all on a local level. If not, you could sell them online and ship them around. Just the bulbs. They fetch a nice price. Check it out. So I highly recommend it. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and dedicate some greenhouse space. This corner is kind of weird because it's got my well, then it's got my sump tank for my aquaponics that I'll be using. So this is not really that easy of an access back in this corner. So I'm going to go ahead and dedicate some greenhouse space to this cash crop. And let me show you how I'm going to do this. I basically just get this bucket. Dump that out. Now all I'm going to do is rake that out over this area. And I'm going to dump some dirt on top of it. And then they're planted. Instead of poking little holes and going through all that, I'm just scattering them out here, kind of gorilla seeding them. I'm going to go ahead and scatter them out. Show you what it looks like when I'm done. And this is probably about an 7 by 9, 7 by 10. So 60 to 70 square feet up to this post here. 60 to 70 square feet of bed. And that was like 2 gallons of seeds. So I kind of raked them out here and there, flung them about. Now I'm going to get in there with my hands and knees and just kind of spread them out. Make sure there's not any little clumps or anything. And you'll probably, if you're just starting, you won't want to do it like this, because it's very expensive. That's hundreds of dollars worth of bulbs I just threw down. That's fine. I'm not going to get all worked up about it. I can thin them out later. I can take them and repot them. Just going to get them going through the winter here. They're going to do fine in here. They're not as sensitive to daylight. They're more sensitive to temperature, and as long as it's above freezing, they'll grow. So we'll see how they do. So I'm going to get out here on my hands and knees, spread them out. Then I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll just throw my dirt on. Give it a water. So like a minute or two, and I just got out there, spread them out. So there's that. I'm going to bring over my dirt. I should mention there are 2 kinds of bulbs. Those larger bulbs, that would be like just your regular onion that grew in the ground. Popped it out of the ground. But there's top set. These are top set onions, which means you get these little clumps of bulbs at the top. Where you would normally have seeds, it's bulbs, and then they get heavy and fall over and hit the ground and re-sprout. That's why they call them walking onions. So I did break apart all the little bulbils. They come in little clumps. I think I broke every last one of them, so I can't really show you. See how that kind of clumped together like that? So I did break them all apart prior to this. So this dirt is from hay and manure mix where I fed cows. It's 3-4 years old now. Really good stuff. Cows are the best gardeners. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this out and let you see what it looks like. It's a little bit short on dirt, but not too bad. And as I said, these things walk and fall over, and they're used to sitting on the top and then growing into the ground. So I'm not so worried about really getting them planted. You put a little bit of dirt over them, and that's going to help them, but I'm going to leave those uncovered just to see how it goes. I might plant those bottom set ones. I might stick those in the ground because they probably need it. But the other ones, the little bulbils, we'll just see how they do. Just laying on the ground in here. So, or maybe if I get more dirt in here, we'll dump a little more dirt on there. So anyway, this is the idea. I'll get this watered in. And I'll be right back with you. So there you have it. They are pretty tough little plants, so I only maybe have to water them once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. Not a whole lot. They don't need a whole lot of care. That's why I didn't hook the drip line up. It just wasn't worth it for these onions. They just don't need it. I'll just have to cap off those, or just put a valve in and dead end this part of the pipe. They will not do well in the summer heat, so by late spring these will have to be transplanted out of here because they're not gonna like what's going on out here. sometimes there's a hawk when they start acting crazy like that. So we'll see how they do. I think they're going to do fine up until mid-spring, and then they'll have to leave. But I will, instead of having them sit in a bucket all winter, I'll put them in the ground and let them start growing, multiplying and doing something. And I have this empty space anyway. So that's my Egyptian walking onions. It got down to 22 degrees last night, and it got down into the upper 30s in here. I don't know if these tomatoes are going to live or not. I'm going to go ahead and try to put some of these loose vines in a secondary frame just to see if they didn't die. I'm not sure at this point. If they managed to survive, then I'll try to save them. I mean, I did all this work yesterday, and then we had super low temperatures, so go figure. I also wanted to share with you Harbor Freight hardware, man. If you need hinges and bolts and stuff like that, or latches, go check them out, man. Like big hinges and so forth. That's the place to go. Harbor Freight. I am not kidding. It's half the price of Lowe's or even Walmart. And Walmart doesn't have the selection. So this is like $3, I think, from Harbor Freight. So I'm going to put that on here. The only reason I have tomatoes in here is because I had seedling trays that I put in here like February, March or something. And the chickens got through that door and scratched them out and spilled them into the greenhouse when I was trying to do corn. But here we are. This is what I had to work with. So I'm going to make sure to put a good latch on that door. And that's what this is. So there's no more mishaps. So anyway, I will show you the little mini cold frame thing I'm going to do. I probably won't get the lights on it or the water in it, but I'll get the plants in the little mini frame. So maybe we could say it's going to be really cold again tonight. At least for here, really cold. Some of you are probably laughing at 20s, but not a joke to me. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. So I was out perusing the inventory pile. Some might call it junk. I call it inventory. And I have this old chicken cage. I used to raise pullets to sell. And I was convinced you had to have a container, blah, blah, blah. Had a bunch of food grade barrels. So I made these cages. And they worked pretty well, but I don't do it that way anymore. I just put them, I have a brooder room, I just put them in there. I might put them in containers for the first week or two, but they're way bigger than this. The big tank calves, kind of made out of those kind of bigger tanks. To keep the breeze off of them, keep the light right on them, and they usually do. And there's no corners for them to pile up in. These cages are now irrelevant. So, I'm going to put that part in the ground. I'm going to leave these intact so the whole barrel doesn't warp. The strength of the barrel is on these two ends, mostly on the top. So I'll just dig down and put my tomatoes inside this. I don't think I'm going to get that lid to work. It's so warped. It would just be so much work. And I just junked the lid. It's just too warped. Got that little hole. I'm going to leave these pieces of wood in here. Put a few more screws in there. Some of them are broken and so forth. And then I'll have to cut that fitting off so I can get the old nipple water that was for the chickens. I had it all set up. It was kind of neat, but it was not to the scale I needed. So anyway, I'll cut that thing out of there, pull that wire bottom out, pull this lid off, get all these extra screws, reinforce the opening, and then you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I could put the lights right along here and just leave it open during the day, and then just come put a blanket over this little, like a towel or something, just right over this opening, face this opening towards where the sun would be. There's my cold frame within a greenhouse kind of idea. And then all I'd have to do is get a little water in there and then get some lights potentially. And I have a whole bunch of these. I have at least 10 or 12 of these little, so I could fill this whole space in here with them. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing ready, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. So here it is. I got my vines. I got 3 vines in here. Run through that little hole, and see how they had the little roots on there. I'm going to try to plant those back, and then I'm going to get some water on these things. I'm going to get them buried, and then I'm going to wrap the vines back around on top of the soil. And then I'm going to put water it, and then I'm going to cover it. We'll see how that does. I'll show you when I'm done. So that's the idea. See if we can get that stem to root And that stem is pretty beat up, but it's green, still attached to the main plant. So we will just see how it does. See my tomatoes there? I know this thing looks pretty sorry. We'll see if we can get, there is some green shoots over here. Well, all we can do is try. Let's see how it goes. If I fail, then I will put something else in these beds. And this dirt looks pretty bad, but it's just really dry. This is nice fluffy dirt. It just needs some moisture to prove it. It's just so dried out. This is actually pretty good dirt. Not real sure about this tomato plant. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I'm going to put, I got all these loose vines, the ones that look still kind of green and vibrant, look decent, look okay. I'm going to put them inside this barrel. I'm going to put a blanket over this tonight. Since we have the 2 coldest nights in a row, and then it's going to warm up for a little while. I'm going to see if anything survives this. And if not, I'll just give up on it. But I'll put a blanket on this tonight and we'll see how it goes. So my cheap ways, I had gotten this trailer and it had some old blankets in it. I didn't throw them away. I saved them. I said, why not? Instead of using them on people, I'll just use them on plants. So there you have it. Snug as a bug in a rug. We'll see how it goes. This was the warmest part of the day. The sun just went down, so I'm capturing what's left of the heat. If everything was dried out and brown and wrinkly, I would totally give up. But a lot of this stuff, it's still got nice green on the vines, you see. The leaves are dead, so, but this is still very much alive.